evening, everybody, and welcome to this online forum for the South Elementary School building proposal. And on behalf of the building committee, my name is TJ Recupero. Welcome you all. Thank you for taking the time out of your evenings to listen to this. This will be the first of many presentations community-wide that will follow. One thing, if you follow the high school project, you'll know is that this building committee has followed much the same tradition, is that we've been open, transparent, reached out to the community in as many ways as possible to make sure that we take all comments and input and criticism. So over the course of the next hour, you will hear from a number of professionals that are on the project team, myself included, as well as the building committee, composed of, I think it's now 15 people, made up of professionals in the schools, as well as community members and town employees specialized in certain things, all having a different area of expertise and all contributing towards the project. And slotted, that's the way MSB, the Mass School Building Authority, MSBA, that's the way they plan it. We're now in the MSBA's feasibility study period for a new school project. And over the course of the next hour, what you'll hear is what we've done over the next year, where we're going from here, and of course, the components of the project that you'll see presented. You'll hear a presentation on district needs going forward. And that's a really fundamental premise, that the whole basis of this project is based on a need, that, you know, there's a need for certain basic school facilities, and having proposed to the MSBA that we'd like to address our needs, they prescribe certain requirements on how we do that. You'll also hear from Dr. Bayeda and Catherine Weiss from the school committee about the schools now, where they intend to go, and as well as Jake Dorr on the conditions of the current school, the South School particularly, and how we propose to address those. You'll hear about the project. You'll see Courtney Southwick of DRA talk about the design that we're presenting to you, and there'll be some other speakers on that, probably myself, that will talk about how we try to fit it in the community with things that you wouldn't really anticipate we'd be addressing for an architectural project. Tim Bonfatti of Vertex, formerly Compass Project Management. He's here along with Chin Lin. You might recognize Tim's name. He was involved he was the OPM for the high school project, and pleased that he and DRA, both who worked on the high school project, are with us for this project, because they understand this community. And I think what you'll hear are, you know, a wealth of knowledge, and all taken into account within the context of this community. You'll hear a little bit about how this project will affect the town outside of the schools, because I think that's critical. We're asking, you know, most people who we're asking or we're talking about this program, this project to, they won't have kids in the schools. So it's important to us that we not be building a school for 550 students for 180 days a year. It needs to be more. It needs to mean more. You'll hear a little bit about that. You'll also hear about how we reached our design and where we're going from here. We're targeting a May town meeting date, and after that, likely a June vote for a debt exclusion. And then when we've wrapped up, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. You'll see there's a chat box option on your Zoom screen. You can type it in during the presentation or after, it doesn't matter, and we will take time afterwards to answer everything that people have on their minds. And as always, the building committee meets once a month, usually every second Wednesday. We always invite people at the beginning of the meeting to address the committee with any questions or concerns. And please keep that in mind. We're also active on social media and elsewhere. Having said that, I think, Courtney, we have a video walkthrough of the presentation that we'll make to you following my comments. So Courtney, if you could.
Courtney, we're not getting any sound from your computer.
We'll play this at the end also, so you don't have to watch very carefully. You'll get 2 shots at it.
And for clarification, please type the question into the Q&A. I don't believe the chat is functional in this webinar.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Chip.
Yeah, since you all can't hear the sound, we went from the exterior of the building into the interior. So we're going into the community wing. You'll see a little bit of the gym space here. There's a lot of natural light in the building. And you can see that there is spectator seating in this gym. So this is a full-size gym. The cafeteria is designed so that there can be multiple lunches in here, but it's also a community space and available for presentation. So we call this a cafetorium, very similar to the existing South School, just a little bit larger. It has direct access outside to play areas so that kids can come in and out. So this is the Learning Commons with access, and you'll see the STEM room there beyond. And a lot of natural light in the space. You can see the wood timber also in the building. This is a structural component that's sustainable, but it also provides a lot of warmth in these spaces. This is inside the classroom neighborhoods. This is on every floor and every wing of the building. And a typical classroom view. Oops, excuse me.
Thank you, Courtney. Can you go back 1 slide?
Yep.
Sorry about that. So I'll wrap up quickly so you can hear about the important things and not from me. This project, although you might just be hearing about it recently, it actually goes back quite a ways, back to 2010, when the town did a facilities assessment, and of all town buildings, schools included, and prioritized certain improvements, replacements, repairs, and whatever else. That was the foundation of where we are today. That's been updated several times. And in 2014, I was on the select board. I was called to a meeting with MSBA, and it was arranged by Joyce Husseini and Deborah Sauvigny at the time, 2 school committee people, along with our legislative delegations and MSBA, who met with us to talk about both the high school and the South School project. It was universally conceded that the South School was the building and the facilities that were more in need. The reason why MSBA selected the statement of interest and the project on the high school project is because that has bigger bang for your buck. It affects more people in the community. There's about 1,200 students versus, in this case, 550. So it has more of a community impact. They decided on that first. Didn't remove any need for the South School. That continued. So if you clock back from 2010 to present, there's been no significant work on the South School, and it's continued to deteriorate. Dr. Baeta pointed out to me something that I wasn't aware, is that the facilities study has been since updated and ratified as recently as 2023, Dr. Baeta said. So it's an ongoing study, and the need has been only continuing. In 2021, the school was invited into the feasibility study process with MSBA. Town appropriated money for the feasibility study, and at that, the committee's charge was to go through about a year-long process of appointing professionals, studying all the facets of what a school project should be, where it should go, how many students it should have, whether there's going to be any sort of consolidation, what the building will look like, of course, traffic, utilities, busing, everything down to, pencil boxes, figuratively. So that's what we've done. And we're at the point now where we have a project we've presented to the MSBA. MSBA has allowed us to go forward. We will then present it to town meeting. And what the committee does is it's a recommendation for approval of this. We don't vote on anything ourselves. It's the policymakers in town who do the ultimate approval. We present our recommendation and all of our findings as provided to us from our professionals, and in May it will go to town meeting for a vote. After that, it will go to the voters who consider whether or not it should be funded through a debt exclusion vote, which is really the only way we will pay for it. And if we go through all that, MSBA will give us a significant grant, which is really the only way that we can afford to do a project like this. If you've seen the price of construction, and particularly the price of construction of schools these days. Having said all that, if I can pass on to Dr. Baeta to talk about the schools particularly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Joe Baeta, Superintendent of Stoughton Public Schools. So as you see in the slide before you, my role tonight here is to really give you that overview of looking ahead into this project. Our master plan, which was updated in March of 2023, is on our district website at www.stoughtonschools.org. Feel free to go under school committee and you'll see that it's there and posted for you to review all of the school's information for the entire district. That district plan, master plan did start in 2010, as TJ noted earlier. In this particular case, as we moved into the statement of interest and into approval by the MSBA, this plan supports our elementary education plan for the district. So that would be our pre-K to 5 as we look at what we're trying to do, which is to bring Stoughton Public Schools elementary system into the 21st century. Added to this is a significant increase in enrollment over the last 3 years, including student needs in special education and English language learners, which continues to be an increase every single year for the last 3 years and is projected to continue to grow over the next 10 years. Added to this, as we look ahead, is that as we bring the district into the 21st century at the elementary level, our STEM lab program, first of its kind in the district, STEM standing for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then, of course, long-term, looking at the main maintenance and operational costs and positives. As you know, these schools will be brought up to school. This particular school will be brought up to all codes that are aligned to FY24. And so right off the bat, we will see significant cost benefits. As stated this morning as one of the questions for clarity, there's also significant potential rebates as part of this project in the area of utilities, which right now are actually at an all-time high. Travel between schools becomes more limited as this is a consolidation project, but also for our staff as well. So two-part, students and staff. Our shared resources are consolidated potentially into this one school, which will have both a financial benefit as well as an academic benefit. And then lastly, our reduced costs of multiple resources. And I would add to this the potential for further educational planning in areas that will bring us into the 21st century. So in general, what we're looking at is a elementary project that brings us into the 21st century through a consolidation project. And in the future, literally the renovation and addition of 2 of our schools at the elementary level and not necessarily the building of a brand new school. Next slide, please. So as we looked at a community, and this was before I arrived, but remembering as part of a citizen in the town on the high school project, how we came about, you take a look, and I won't read them to you, but before you is how we got here. And so simply you take a look at the 5 different elementary schools and you look at their ages, you'll see that both the South and the Wilkins stand out in terms of their age, followed by the Hanson, the Dar, and the Gibbons. Long-term, the combination of the younger 3 are where you would be looking as a community to do renovations, additions. I don't believe that Stoughton will be looking past this project to a brand new building as the MSBA continues to look at best practices for districts. Next slide, please. I believe this goes to Mr. Dorr if he is on. And if he is not,
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Dorr.
I think I might be lagging a tiny little bit, so hopefully everyone can hear me. So I just to talk a little bit. I'm Jake Dorr, the principal at the South Elementary School. And while the South is an amazing community, it's a really great performing school, wonderful teachers, wonderful students, wonderful community. One of the things that is not as wonderful is the condition of the building. We try our best to maintain it. The town has tried its best to maintain it over, since 1958 when it opened, but there are obvious issues as you walk around the building, even just from the outside if you drive by. The building envelope, so kind of the structure of the outside of the building, you can even see from some of those pictures there, is a combination of wood and brick and metal. And I mean, for lack of a better word, it's deteriorating. We have windows that leak, we have a roof that leaks, you can see every time it rains, it's kind of an adventure as to find out what new part of the building is leaking, and how we can, fix that for the time being, and if it's going to be interrupting classes or any other things. Cafetorium was made for a smaller population. Currently the South Elementary is over 300 students. It's the largest population it's been in at least the last 25 years. And our cafetorium doesn't fit the whole school at one time. If we have events, it can't fit families and students. It's just really not equipped for what we're looking for in a 21st century learning environment for students, inclusive of the community. If you've ever driven to the South Elementary School during arrival or dismissal, you can see that it's very tight. There's not enough room for both cars and buses to get through efficiently and safely. There's insufficient parking for the staff, let alone parents who are also visiting or want to park for an event. It spills out onto the neighboring communities and streets, which is an issue in and of itself. When you come into the South School, I mean, you have to be buzzed in. It is a safe elementary school, but when you come in, you are in the school. There's not a double foyer like there are at other elementary schools. Once you're inside, you check in at the office and, you're in the building. It's not designed the way that other schools are currently being designed, not the way we would want it to be if we could choose. Our nursing suite is very small. It houses a nurse and one student. And if you've ever been to an elementary nurse's office, there's usually more than one student there. So it's a tight squeeze. In terms of just 21st century learning needs and special education, I kind of talk about those two things together. The building isn't equipped for offices. It has classrooms. And so a lot of places have been retrofitted to meet the current needs, and we are meeting the needs of everyone, but it's being done in a very creative way right now because of the building that we are in. There's no specific dedicated kindergarten areas, so current kindergarten classrooms might have a bathroom inside of them to help support students, cubbies inside the classroom as opposed to the hallway. Those things are not currently in place at the South Elementary School. So while there are physical deficiencies of the building itself is a very efficient school. Thank you. I'll pass on to the next slide.
Thank you. I'm Catherine Weiss. I'm the school committee chair and also the school committee representative on the building committee. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of consolidation. As part of the master plan dating back to 2010, updated in 2017, and then again in 2023, the decision was made not just to renovate and replace each individual school. That would be 5 different building projects for the town. The decision was to consolidate and move from 5 to 4 elementary schools. And that's been the result of years of discussion and study. In particular, the building committee has held multiple forums with stakeholders, including educators, families, and residents in the first half of 2023. And then following these meetings, the school committee voted to consolidate from 5 to 4 elementary schools, confirming that the South and the Wilkins are the buildings that will be studied for repurposing. And that vote was taken in 2023, July 2023. Courtney, if I could have the next slide, please. So the district is at the point of needing to redistrict to reduce pockets of overcrowding, whether this new building succeeds or not. A new consolidated building would allow for more flexibility and would accommodate future population bubbles more easily. Note that we're not planning to just merge the South and Wilkins schools. We've had questions about how we're going to bus students from the Wilkins over to the new elementary school site. We were actually looking at redrawing the district lines with consideration of the town's demographics, the needs, and the resources. That's going to require further study. It's going to require stakeholder input in the years leading up to the new school's opening. As a parent of an elementary school student who could be affected, I understand all the concerns about the uncertainty. We get a lot of questions of who's going to be redistricted where. We just don't know that yet, but that information will be coming, and we will be looking for input on that. I also want to note that dedicated classrooms in the new school and the space freed up at other buildings will allow the district to better serve the needs of our growing special education population. Providing more and better special education programming and services will improve not only students' education and social emotional well-being, but reducing the number of students sent out of district has financial benefits for us. In combination with ongoing improvements to existing school buildings, the new building and the subsequent redistricting would enable the Stoughton Public Schools to address inequalities and amenities across the entire district. The new building plus the 3 buildings shown here, the Hanson, Dawn, Gibbons, would mean more equitable and accessible facilities for all of students and elementary school students in Stoughton. These buildings also better fit Stoughton's vision for elementary school, elementary education programming. And so I'm going to hand off to the principals to explain more about the education plan.
Thank you. I'm Katie Monahan. I'm the principal of the Wilkins Elementary School. And Mr. Dorr and I were tasked with writing the educational plan just over a year ago. And that would provide the blueprint or the ideas that would basically shape the vision for future elementary education in Stoughton. We took the opinions and ideas from numerous stakeholders when we crafted the education plan. And in doing so, we came up with several themes that are on this slide that I'll go through. One of the important ideas that came from the visioning sessions and that we wanted to make sure we incorporated into the ed plan was the idea that we would have an upper and a lower education elementary for the different floors for the elementary students to be on. We wanted to make sure that in consolidating the schools that we still were able to maintain that neighborhood feel. And it was very important to us that we would be able to keep the students that were in kindergarten, first grade together, second, third, and then fourth and fifth, so that they would be with their developmentally aged appropriate peers. The South School is fondly often called the school in the woods, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to utilize the outdoor spaces and provide opportunities of further education for the students by using those. And so there's been a lot of attention to making sure that we are utilizing the outdoor spaces appropriately so that we can continue to use them for educational purposes. It was also extremely important that this school became a hub for the community. It is important to us that the school be used not only during school hours for the students in kindergarten through fifth grade, but also be able to be utilized after hours for the community. So the common areas such as the cafeteria and the gym have been designed so that they can be shut off and the rest of the school not necessarily affected, but the other spaces could be used when the school is not in session in the evening. We also wanted to make sure that there was an abundance of collaboration spaces and meeting spaces, not just for staff, but also for students. Current educational trends require that students collaborate all the time. And so it's important that we have those different spaces for students to be able to do that kind of learning, not just in the classroom, but in the other community spaces nearby. And finally, there came this idea that there would be a centralized learning commons as the heart of the school. So this is a beautiful large space that's open and full of air and natural light with abundance of both print and technological resources for students to use when they gather for different project-based learning at the very center of the school. And immediately above that was the idea that we would have this STEM space that would offer opportunities for students to participate in some of those different science, technology, engineering, and mathematical opportunities with the materials there. And there's an access to a rooftop garden just beyond that so that students have, again, more opportunities to access the outdoors. Next slide.
So building on what Katie discussed, just to let everyone know, this Courtney Southwick with DRA, we're going to highlight all the design aspects that help support those educational plan requirements. If you were with us back last January, we were doing the visioning sessions, and those help us to lead into the site selection. So we looked at several different sites around town, identified pros and cons. We looked at addition options and renovation options, as well as new construction. The one that we settled on is called the Pinwheel. It has a really fun geometry that does support the educational plan. And we're going to highlight those components later, but just a reminder where we are. This is the Line Lumber site. It has direct access off of Park Street, and it's just a little bit further north than the existing South Elementary School site. Looking a little bit at the site circulation, you can see that the main access point off of Park is highlighted here on the right. You have separate circulation paths for parent drop-off, your bus loop, and then we also have a separate kinder drop-off. The access to Haynes Road is identified only as emergency access. This is not traveled on a daily basis or for community purposes. There is pedestrian access through that way as well. You can see the red zone, the little red circles here. Those are just gates to help control traffic during school hours and event times to make sure that everything is as safe as possible for both the students and the community. Looking a little bit closer at the site and amenities, you can see the soccer field here, a couple of courts, basketball and pickleball to support both school activities and community activities. You can see parking is also distributed throughout the site to support the school and community access as well, with a nice walking track around the school or around the fields. And then you can see a little bit closer here, the parent drop-off, the bus drop-off, the main access point right here, as well as the kinder drop-off. The geometry of this pinwheel building also allows us to separate our upper and lower play areas, as well as the school wings itself. You can see the classroom wings help divide those different play areas from upper and lower elementary school students. We have outdoor learning opportunities with student gardens, as well as a hard surface play area outside the gym and the cafeteria. Here's a couple of precedent images that kind of support the vision, and this is where we're headed. We haven't fully, selected all of the different play structures and everything yet. We're very early in design, but pictures like this help guide us towards the next phase of design. Nature play and structured play as well. These are precedent images that show play structures that are designed for children of all abilities. One thing I want to highlight on this slide is that this is an all-electric building. We will have PV in the project. The field over here on the right, which is the soccer field, will also have geothermal. So a portion of the building will be supported by geothermal energy, as well as the photovoltaics on the roof. You've seen this picture from the fly-through, but we want to highlight here that there are two entrances: the main entrance that students will use on a day-to-day basis, and then we also have a community entrance here. Separation of the community access spaces like the gym and the cafeteria can be secured off from the academic wings of the building. We also, when we design a building like this is a school in the woods, we want to tie our materials, we want to make sure that it looks like it fits the site. So we have some stone, we have some panels with a wood veneer, and we're utilizing brick as well on this building. This is a night shot to show community access, and despite the location, it is somewhat segregated. Everything is very well lit for community access. A reminder of those educational plans. This is a 3-story building designed for 515 students, although because of the geometry, we feel that it doesn't feel like a very large building. The two blue wings identify the classroom wings with the classroom neighborhoods in the core of those areas. The Learning Commons is the heart of the school, as mentioned previously. You can see the administration wing has good supervision of that entrance with the security vestibule. And then our community areas can be segregated and secured off during community events. And here are the floor plans of the building. Again, the blue areas are our classrooms. The yellow is our circulation. Gym and cafeteria are the orange zones. And we do have toilet rooms to support those public amenities as well. And then you can see our administration in the green and our special education programs scattered throughout the school. These are some precedent images for the interior of the building, and we're going to show you our renderings that we've done as well that are based on these inspiration images. Some of these are images from our own projects, and some are projects that, that also support that educational plan. This is a view of the Learning Commons looking towards the main entrance and administration wing from the second floor. You can see how it is open, but it is able to be secured with different furniture arrangements. So again, we're very early in the design, but you can see how those inspiration images tie into our building. And as I previously mentioned, we do have wood timber in the project. It adds an element of warmth and is a sustainable and low embodied carbon material that we like using for the structure of the building. Another view of the Learning Commons from inside the Learning Commons out. And the STEM program, which is located adjacent to the Learning Commons, but you can also see that there is an outdoor patio area that supports that and ties, allows students to go work outside on, projects as well as in the interior of the space. And there's the view of the Learning Commons looking from the STEM room. View of the typical classroom. This is on the first floor of the kindergarten wing. You can see little windows. Some windows are designed just for kids, and then you can also see others that have large expansive views. This is a central collaboration area that would be in each neighborhood wing with support spaces like calm spaces and pull-out spaces, but you also see the little collaboration zone here, which is designed for pulling out 3 to 5 students in that area for separate instruction. And then a couple views of the cafeteria towards the stage and out towards the outdoor play area as well. And you can see the community entrance here off to the side. That vestibule connects to the gym entrance as well, which you can see over here. And then again, a nice light-filled gymnasium with seating for spectators. I'll hand it over to TJ. TJ, you're muted.
You said at the beginning that you have to make sure that your microphone's not muted when you speak. But I also said that from my perspective, and I think many people on the, if not everybody on the building committee, I'm just hesitant to speak for everyone, it's got to mean more than just 180 days of use per year by 550, in our case, or 600 students. It has to be more for the community-wide populace of Stoughton. So and we focused on that. So the intention of this is, of course, to improve the quality of education for Stoughton, which it does in any number of ways, both in school and out school. So in the school, things like improved lighting and sound quality and everything that makes a school more comfortable and livable for a school that will cause a student to want to stay in that school more. We found this with the high school, by the way. That improves the education of our kids. Studies have shown that any number that you could Google in a minute and find dozens. It also translates to other schools because we have an educational program that Jake and Katie, the principals of the Wilkins and South, have written that I think we take the core principles of that and the schools will use those townwide. For a person like me and many who will be looking at this and voting on it, and questioning it, who don't have schools in the district, it's important that there be more bang for our buck. And so this is kind of why I was given this slide and why this is important to me. This project will have the typical amenities that you'll see in a school, but it's a site where we haven't used the entire parcel. It's about 30 acres. It was acquired by the town back in the early 60s. It's been held and identified for school development probably since it was acquired. As a matter of fact, it was taken for school purposes, and although we weren't planning a school at any one time, it was held for school purposes. We've also acknowledged that, we can't use the entire site when there are other community needs. So there will be an opportunity to, at some point, use another portion for other priorities in town. There will be some sort of open park space if attached to the school, or something that we may be proposing. We've certainly discussed at the committee meetings. So community space, the just general facilities that any school will have, fields, and those are all critical. And if you think about it, south of Halloran Park, probably, if you identify Halloran Park as the stopping point, there's really no public park space south of that, all the way to the Brockton line. And, west of Park Street, east of Sumner Street, and all the way down in the Atkinson Ave area and elsewhere and into that area of Stoughton, there are probably a couple thousand homes, all those people who could use and certainly would appreciate some sort of community space. This has been one of the things we've had in mind, and certainly something that we'll bring to that area of the community. And it's part of a larger plan. So the town of Stoughton is right now engaged with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to study the corridor along Park Street, Route 27, for zoning purposes, land use purposes, in order to develop it and make more of that land, create more value, hopefully realize more tax revenue for the benefit of the town generally. Many of you might know that there was at town meeting recently a proposal to bring sewer down Park Street. That passed, and that's, if it's not in progress now, it will be soon. But there's been several traffic schemes that have been drafted up. All of this has been with the intention of this south area of Stoughton being the area where, if there's going to be any growth or opportunity in Stoughton, this is where it has to happen. And this school plays well into that. And then in general terms, this is hard to quantify. And I apologize if this sounds sort of, like it's evaporating into the ether as just flowery talk, but I was involved in a high school, and there was something that happened there. We hadn't done a capital project of that scope or scale ever before, and hopefully never will again until the next 50 years or so. And there's something to be said about when that happened. There was a certain pride to it that we can do big things. And not long after you saw the fire station approved, and this project came that had a greater need, by the way, came right after it, and then the sewer project. And I think everything falls into place behind what was just a monumental vote by the town on the high school. This school will be the next step in that. And it also, in that sense and beyond, it facilitates future growth. Most people don't know this. When I heard it, I thought was kind of curious, if not unbelievable. But when the town agreed to fund the new high school and take on all that debt, our bond rating in town actually improved. We were rated higher, and that in and of itself allowed us to look at projects like this. There's still some planning that has to go into funding this school and other priorities, but it's because we did the high school, and it will be because we do this school, that we'll be able to do other good things into the future. So that ends my portion of it. If Tim Bonfatti can actually talk about where we're going to go from here on a calendar basis, we can wrap up and get into questions.
Thanks. Thank you, TJ. So I'm Tim Bonfatti from Vertex. Good evening, everybody. So just sort of looking quickly at where we're at and where we're going. We were in front of the community quite a bit in the spring and summer about the decision around consolidation. We took the fall to pretty much design the school, the decision that the building committee made. And we're at that point. We want to get in front of the community again to explain that what we don't have and what we're in the process of getting the project costs, which we will have shortly. And we will be presenting to the building committee at their next meeting. That will include the tax impact. And then we obviously know that's a critical component to the project, so we're anxious to get that out to the public. We will have the MSBA reimbursement at least estimated at that point. The MSBA, fortunately, in the fall, made a significant increase in their formulas for MSBA reimbursement. So we will know the exact fact, the effect of that, but that's something that we'll be again reporting to the committee and the public. And then the school committee has appointed a master plan subcommittee to deal with the future of the South Wilkins and Jones schools, which we know the community is going to be interested in understanding more about that as it moves forward. So we'll have a little more about that, but again, that's a master plan committee that's going to take a thoughtful look at that. Just kind of looking quickly at where we're going over the next few months, this is as kind of a kickoff of the community forums with the project designed. We intend to hold more of them. We intend to hold more, and as TJ mentioned, we did quite a bit on the high school, more informal ones, and find other ways to get the message out about the school and the project to the community over the next few months. Our goal is to be at the MSBA board meeting in April with an approved project that is triggered by our submission of the schematic design report at the end of February. We expect that's on schedule and don't see any particular issue with getting to that board and getting approval. And then, of course, the critical votes will be the town meeting in May, and then also the debt exclusion that will happen likely in early June. So with that, I think we are ready to answer questions. And as was mentioned earlier, the Q&H function at the bottom of your screen is where you should put your question. And Jeff is going to moderate those questions.
Thank you, Tim. I'm Jeffrey Pickett, the Media Relations Manager for the district. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you enter them in the Q&A section, and we will get to each one. So the first question that we'll take tonight is about spacing in all of our schools. That the schools, I like the wording of this, are already busting at the seams. How would redistricting solve that? And a second part to the question, are we planning to place extensions on any of the existing elementary schools?
Happy to take that, Jeff, on behalf. So it's a great question in terms of looking at the comment about us busting at the seams. All of our schools at the elementary level were actually built prior to IDEA and the idea of special education and providing services. So what we've had to do is we've had to take regular sized classrooms and either take them completely over or break them up into rooms. This new school concept actually brings along the idea of special education classrooms fit for program priorities for students to actually be part of the project. That will alleviate potential spaces at other schools and general classrooms as well. So it's a two-prong effect, again, depending on what our enrollment ends up being, but we're building a school that understands those federal regulations and the need to make sure that we keep students within our district. And so that will alleviate some of our spaces in other schools.
Yeah, and in terms of extension, you had that second part of the question, Jeff. The building is designed to be expandable. The MSBA requires that of every project, that there's a plan in mind for being able to put additions onto it. And this building it has them on those back wings. If you saw on the academic wings, those are planned to be able to be additions added to that in the future.
Can I speak to that?
I'm sorry, Catherine. Go ahead.
I was going to speak to the expanding the other schools. If you look at the facilities master plan, that is definitely under consideration in the future. But the idea of this consolidation is to alleviate some of the issues we have now, and then give us sort of a breathing room so we don't have to do back to back elementary school projects. But if you look at the facilities master plan, there are thoughts about how we could potentially expand or renovate the other existing elementary schools.
Our next question also deals with redistricting, and says, my child is part of the redistricting. How many estimated children would be moving schools?
I mean, Dr. Baeta?
Yeah, well, in general, what redistricting actually means is taking a look at where students are coming from within the community and how does it actually work. So what the cutoffs will be for the changes to each of the schools, there will be an impact. So that's part one. Part two, that goes along with that is we're also trying to be manageable, if you will, around the size of this school. It's slated to be around 515, probably plus students. So then as we look at the consolidation, one of the things that's in place would be that the Wilkins is no longer a K-5 elementary school. So therefore, it shifts everybody to new zones with, if you will, within the community.
The next question, sorry.
Just to quickly add to that, and in terms of the exact number of people that are moving and how we know, we won't probably know that definitively until that redistricting is finalized in the next couple of years while the school is being built, because of course the town changes even in that period of time. So in terms of the time frame of that.
The next question is, are there going to be sidewalks on both sides of Park Street now?
I guess I can take that if no one else can. I don't know that there's any plan to do that. I do know that there's some plan in the works to do improvements to Park Street, but as part of the school project, we have no plans to build sidewalks all the way down Park Street that aren't there presently.
Correct. Our current project scope includes sidewalks from Park Street through the site, and including a crosswalk and beacon to cross Park Street. And we're currently also including the costs associated with a traffic signal at that intersection.
The next question has to deal with the layout of the inside of the school. Are the K1 classrooms on floor 1, the second and third on floor 2, and the 4th and 5th grade classrooms on floor 3?
I'll take that one. That is correct. The younger kids, the kinder and first, are on the first floor, and they have easy access to all the amenities that they're going to use. They will go up to the second floor for the art program and the STEM program as needed, but most of their time is going to be spent on the first floor. And as you move up in the building, you move up in life. So,
is there a kitchen for the community? Was the next question.
Well, the kitchen and servery that serve the cafeteria are tied into that wing of the building. That's an administrative function in terms of whether it's used for multi-purpose and how it's operated on the weekends versus the school days.
And the next question, also along lines of the site, will the playing fields be turf?
We currently have the playing fields owned as natural grass for the elementary school. And that's what we see typically for elementary school projects.
The next question has to do with the STEM area. I'll read the question in its entirety. I'm thrilled to hear that the new school will have a dedicated STEM area and an engaging curriculum. However, I'm concerned about ensuring equity in educational experiences across all schools. It's important to address this issue to provide equal opportunities for all students. How will this be addressed?
Yeah, I'd like to take that question. That's a great question, one that I've actually dealt with before with older buildings. So yes, you would have a dedicated space in STEM, and then what we would look to do in our current buildings that are left as K5s is to do the same type of idea of a STEM classroom space. It wouldn't be the same new space, but the idea would be to move in that same direction. So in K-5, the STEM experience for all students would be the same. Some critical areas to look at that will have to be decided by both not only management, but input from the community would be how we actually run some of our specials, if you will, around instructional technology, et cetera. Those are all things that would be considered in order to create those types of spaces equitably throughout the district.
The next question is back to the redistricting plan. Do you intend to have the redistricting plan determined and communicated before the town meeting and general election vote?
I can take that question and say that it would not be feasible to provide a redistricting plan at this time, since redistricting is something that will take time based on actual facts and information that a building is to be built. So the general answer would be no, that would not be available prior to a vote.
The next question is about the Learning Commons area and school safety. The new Learning Commons area, how would you shelter in place or lock down the open air area for safety reasons?
I can pick that one up. We've actually had multiple discussions on that with our working group, and we've met with folks in the community and Chief McNamara as well. We've talked about the various communicating doors that are the entrance to each wing. Those are designed to help kids and anyone behind those doors. Those actually will help anyone that's in the Learning Commons area. There's a plan in place for where those kids will go in the case of an emergency.
Next question is, are there any estimates yet as to the impact of the quarterly tax bill for taxpayers?
I can take that. We're in the process of estimating the cost of the project right now with cost estimators. And once we get that, we'll work with the town finance people about what the actual tax impact, and we will have that. Mine would project we'll have that by the end of February, if not sooner, and we'll get that out as quickly as possible. We did that with the high school, and we'll follow the same formula in terms of presenting that. Probably, as I say, by the end of February.
The next question is about classroom space. Will all teachers have their own classrooms in the new building, or will they share the classrooms?
The school is designed to have teachers have their own classroom.
Thank you. What happens with the old buildings and parcels of land that the current South School is on?
That's currently being studied for the facilities master committee, what the school committee was going to do with the South and the Wilkins and the Jones properties, or if they can be reused, or if that land can be returned to the town.
Next question along those same lines. If you can speak more to the plans for the Jones School and the eventuality of universal pre-K.
That's my bread and butter area. So that's a great question. So the idea, as you know, especially since the governor just released the idea of going to a universal pre-K over the next few years, starting with Gateway Citizen and also moving on. So what we're looking at in terms of the use of facility subcommittees to really take a look at the best way for us to use our facilities, specifically between the South, the Jones, and the Wilkins. More than likely, I would suggest that the reuse of the South School is limited at best. It would be an idea of what takes place between the Jones and the Wilkins, with the potential that one or both could be used for preschool, depending on what the end result is of universal pre-K. Universal pre-K discussions are wonderful to have, and I hope that the Commonwealth decides to go in that direction. But there has to be a very clear understanding about one complicated area beyond cost. Space becomes the most significant discussion, and that will be a critical area for Stoughton as well.
The next question is, will the new South School or the new elementary school building connect to both Park and Sumner Street?
Happy to take that one. The plan right now will not connect to both Park and Summer, just enter and exit off Park. We spent quite a bit of time trying to Fano Drive, what we know is Line Lumber Roadway that does connect from Park to Sumner Street. That's privately owned. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to work with the landowners and arrange some sort of agreement where we could pave that and make it an access for the school. In the end, we weren't able to reach that agreement. We didn't foreclose any future plan if we were able to strike an agreement with them to use Fano Drive and perhaps connect into Sumner Street from both ends. It would have more of a public safety use for the town generally than just specifically the school. But as of right now, we're on a strict timeline. We had to go with what we had, which is enter and exit off of Park Street with Haynes Road as emergency access.
What is the estimated project completion date?
Project is scheduled to be completed, if it stays on the current timeline, as you can see on this, in 2027. So the idea would be to ready for that fall 2027 date.
Will there be hall monitors in the new school? Will other older children be able to gain access to the other levels, such as bathrooms on the lower floors? So a two-part question there.
There's the potential for that discussion around how it's set up. Typically, elementary schools, we do not utilize hall monitors unless we end up seeing situations where we need to. But our students will have access to bathrooms only on their floor. Students that are not located where they're supposed to be will have to deal with the consequences of that. But we would always look to do other safety measures such as hall monitors if they were needed. We do not anticipate this at this time.
The next question is, how do you envision housing our multiple sub-separate programs and our migrant students? Would the new building be taking on these populations of students, or will they still be shared among the other elementary buildings in the district?
I can address that from two perspectives. The first one is that anything to do with specialized education will be part of this program, including special education classrooms, which are, I think, Courtney, you may have actually noted them in the presentation, but they're in this map, I believe, in green, greenish color. I'm somewhat colorblind, so where you're seeing the scrolling around in the green, that's where you'll see a location of specialized classrooms that are being established. In terms of the migrant students, Stoughton Public Schools does not have a current responsibility for long-term planning of migrant students. And so this project does not, by state requirement or local requirement, require that we do any type of shuffling, if you will, or creating, if you will, more space because of that. We currently have migrant students in our community that are slated to be here according to the local contract of the shelters, which are 2 hotels in town, through December of 24. We don't know what the impact will be thereafter.
The next question, are the windows and doors in the school going to be bulletproof?
So I can respond to that. There are a lot of safety discussions that we have with the working group and with the building committee and other emergency responders about the overall safety of the building, whether it includes fenestration or technology or the way the building's designed and how it works. We don't disclose every component of the building in terms of whether something is bulletproof or whether something is not, but be rest assured that our team is taking into consideration all the security concerns that we have these days for our children. So I want folks that are watching this to understand that we are taking those measures and those concerns into the design of the building.
The next question is about student enrollment. What are the student numbers? How many students are at the existing South School? How many are at the Wilkins? And how many will the new elementary school building hold? can the new school handle the closing of the other school?
Again, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me for each of our schools, but the new school is being built at a minimum of 515, probably going to be a little higher than that based on class sizes and our local, if you will, expectation of class sizes being maintained as the educational benefit to students, which is for us lower class sizes. As I said earlier, the idea that we're able to actually take larger class sizes and potentially in some of the cases of special education in this particular new school actually create classrooms that are made for students that are being serviced in that area will allow for larger class sizes, for example, in other schools. So let's say it was 4 classes that are regular class sizes in one elementary school. If those 4 class sizes were moved to a new school, that literally opens up 4 general education large classroom spaces, which then in terms of spreading the students allows for us to have more general education space. Long-term planning for the district is increased enrollment. So as you know, MSBA, or you may not know, MSBA tells us the size of the school, if you will. We can have a lot of discussions that we think it's X, Y, Z. I'll say that Stoughton fought very hard for Stoughton High School to be a little larger. It was 1,080 students. It is well over 1,100 students today. We build and they shall come, but MSBA, thank you for their grant if this project is successful, but we have to play by the rules of their expectation of enrollment.
The next question is, the vote for this to be approved is important. How are you getting this information to voters in the town without young children directly impacted, specifically the seniors who are worried about the financial impact?
I could take this one, and Tim, maybe you, if I miss anything, you can add in.
Sure.
So I'm using the example of the high school. We had the same team there. We have the same plan going forward here. We, right around the same time for the high school, we compiled a list of all community groups, all boards in town, any venue possible where we could get the message out on this school. We reached out, we gave a presentation to anyone who would listen to us. There were a couple occasions, if you followed our meetings and listened, I've used the example of one that I went to with Carl Franceschi of DRA on a Saturday, where the Stoughton Women's Group, there was 1 member showed up. And we gave a full presentation. So we will come to you. You will find us because we'll be right in front of you. And as to we'll also have mailers. We'll be active on social media. There'll be a question portal that you can always use and generally get a question within 24 hours or less. Matter of fact, I'll commit to 24 hours or less if you ask a question. On the issue of how we pay for it and specifically how seniors can afford this, one thing I'm very proud of, and Tim, I know you've used this model in other districts since then. We went out and we held, we had flyers, we had ads, we had one specific workshop, all focused around tax assistance, specifically available to seniors, veterans, people with special needs. Everybody who was entitled to some sort of public assistance on real estate taxes, we found them, we put them together, compiled them into a document, an ad, I think even a mailer, and we got them to the people who could use that information in order to afford something that is a very, very expensive project, but also very important to the community. So we'll use that same model, and I suspect if you don't have the answer, you'll be able to reach us because we'll be speaking in front of you.
The next question is, will the gym be large enough to be able to host town sporting events for kids of all ages? As a specific example, the older kids in town, recreation and travel basketball, currently play at the OMS, where spectators sit on folding chairs since there is no designated seating area.
Well, Courtney can address this, but we did actually increase the size of the gym to include the seating that you can see in this rendering here. So we are expecting to have some ability to seat those, which a pretty significant amount of 4 rows of seating there.
Correct. And, although this gym doesn't have, the same amenities as like a locker room and things like that for changing and stuff, the size of the gym can accommodate those types of events. And we're ensuring that we're designing the structure high enough, so to allow for volleyball and other sports as well.
The next question is, will this new building have 2 principals? Since you will be closing the South and Wilkins. What would the administration staffing look like?
Well, as superintendent of schools, I think I'll take that one on. Those decisions have not yet been finalized. Those will be things that we'll have discussions about. Do we have 1 principal and assistant? Do we have a K2 principal and a 3-5 principals? All of those and other ideas will be considered as part of the best educational plan for students.
The next question, and this is the final one at the moment in the Q&A section, is how many classes for each grade do you foresee in the new building?
I can jump to a floor plan real quick. Bear with me. And actually the previous slide is helpful too. You can see it. There's a combination of 5 traditional classrooms and there's special education classrooms in each wing. So as was previously mentioned, we're maintaining fairly small classroom kid to teacher ratios. So we're talking 18 to 20 students in each of these classrooms and 5 classrooms per wing or per floor per wing.
All right. With that, if I can, we've held pretty tight to an hour. I think that's
Well, TJ, there was
Oh,
one
sorry.
quick top question that Jeff missed
Oh, sure.
on my Q&A anyways, and the
I
question,
missed it too.
this is only for South School students, correct? And I think just quickly I'll answer, and then if obviously Dr. Baeta can add, but this is really for the district in terms of, district wide, I would say. The most impacted may be the South School students, but as was mentioned earlier, we have, I think, the whole district is going to benefit from aspects of the project. So I don't know, Dr. Baeta, if you want to add to that, but
just a simple that was mentioned by the chair, Ms. Weiss, that this is a redistricting plan that would be taking place in Stoughton, regardless if this project goes through or not, because of the number of students that we are seeing. So, as you consider your decisions, if the project goes through, we're redistricting. If the project doesn't go through, we'll be looking at how do we fix our schools without having reimbursement, but at the same time looking at redistricting because we do have significant concerns of need within our elementary schools.
We all set? Did we hit everything now? We have, for those of you who might have logged in late, we do have a video tour that Courtney Southwick of DRA will play for us, and then we'll wrap up.
Courtney, I'm not seeing the video yet.
Can anyone else see the video?
I have the videos playing on my end.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. Got it.
fine.
What happened? I like the nighttime picture best. Having said that, everybody, thank you for coming and attending and for your questions. And I'll say again, all of our meetings are open. We invite people to come, make comments and ask questions. We will be out in the community presenting the plan on social media, by email. There's a project website. Please reach out. We have, I think I speak on behalf of the building committee. We understand that we have, MSBA takes very few school districts per year. We have one shot to do this right. We're determined as a committee, again, I'll speak for everyone on this. We're determined to get it right, because if we don't, the price of doing that is we don't know the next time Stoughton will get the opportunity in front of the MSBA for funding. And affording a school like this in any town, not just Stoughton, is a daunting task that we don't want to waste with poor planning. And I can say, again, on behalf of the committee, we've tried very hard to meet all of the community and the district needs with this one. So at that, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And please feel free to reach out.
The video and the, Jeff, can you confirm that the video and the presentation will be on the project website?
Yes, the video will be on the project website, both the tour that we just saw and the full presentation from both noon and 7 p.m. The current one right now, as will the slideshow presentation, and we'll be emailing all of those materials out to our families and community members who receive the weekly newsletter.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Have a great night.